Hey there, Mel High School, and happy Monday. Traditionally, I say happy Sunday because by and large, I put together eNews on Sunday afternoons. And with this being our Labor Day holiday and a day off from school, and wanted to give the Mel community an update before we dive into the third week of NTI. It's crazy how time flies, but I'm gonna get started. As I promised a couple of weeks ago, one of the things that I will do each week before we start the week is simply stop and pause and share the breakdown for the week ahead. So obviously today, Monday, September 7th, is a holiday. It's Labor Day holiday. I hope it's been a great weekend for each of you. I hope you've gotten a chance to recharge and unplug. If you're like me, trying to get back into the flow of the work week, we just got home and Miss Foster's making me cut grass, so pardon my casualness, but I'm going to tape this real quick and head outside and get the yard cut and all those chores done. But the breakdown for this week of school, being a 4-day week, Tuesday and Thursday will both be a purple day. Wednesday and Friday will both be gold days. So here's our breakdown for the week. And I wanted to loop back to this visual here. I shared this during NTI orientations the week before school started, but it's just a nice visual reminder of where we are in this first chunk, the first 6-week increment of NTI. We've now finished 2 weeks of instruction, although both weeks have been 4-day weeks, as is this week. So you can see we were off last Friday and today, which is the 7th, and we go into another 4-day week for the coming week. I want to point out to students and parents that next Monday will be our first 5-day week. We will also have our first asynchronous day on Wednesday, the 16th. I'm going to come back to asynchronous days here shortly. But again, this is a nice visual of where we are in the first 6 weeks of NTI instruction. So we're 2 weeks in. So let's talk about a couple of things. So first and foremost, students, assignments, projects, assessments will begin to become due, meaning you're going to have to turn them in. You're going to have to turn them in on time. You've probably turned in a number of things already. I say this reminder for a very simple but important reason. With us being a block schedule school, you are carrying either 7 or 8 classes, depending upon whether or not you have a study skills. Things can add up and pile up quickly. So it's crucial that you stay on top of your assignments, that you visit your Google Classroom regularly, stay on top of a due date, be mindful of things, and just simply make sure that you continue to get off to a great start to the new school year. Secondly, keeping up with grades. Parents, if you're not linked or registered in Infinite Campus Parent Portal, you would get live updates to your students' grades. So make sure that you're keeping up with Parent Portal. And then obviously assignments and all other information will be kept up in Google Classrooms with each class that your student is enrolled in. Lastly, I wanted to come back to asynchronous instruction. I think we had some confusion a couple of weeks ago on those 2 days that we had to pivot and switch to Microsoft Teams. I think we had some folks that interpreted that asynchronous instruction essentially equated to a day off, and that's not the case. So I want to come back to this visual that I talked about also during NTI orientation with examples of what could happen or what could I expect to happen on an asynchronous class. I'll be honest, I'll be candid. This is my 22nd year as an educator. We didn't use the term synchronous or asynchronous very frequently before this NTI 2.0 started or began, and we began to plan for NTI 2.0. But it's a pretty cool concept, and it's pretty simple. Synchronously, students and teachers will have a chance to connect live, which in the spring, guys, if you remember, we didn't get to do that, and it was frustrating, and it was hard. So now we have the opportunity each day. We either go a purple day or gold day to connect synchronously for about 45 minutes. That's not perfect. That's not the full amount of time that we would connect if we were in-person instruction. So we have to do a little bit of both synchronous and asynchronous instruction. You can read this slide. I won't read it to you, but I just want to remind both our Bulldogs and parents there are asynchronous expectations. If a day is asynchronous, a lesson is asynchronous, it is still going to have due dates. It's going to have to be submitted. There will still be work to be done, and it's not a day off. So keep that in mind, especially next week as we go into our first full asynchronous day of instruction. A few other NTI updates. I really want to thank our teachers. I really want to thank our students for being able to pivot to Microsoft Teams. It was unfortunate what happened across our school district with some disruptions to Google Meet. There's been some very good things that have come of that, fortunately, unfortunately. But we now are, by and large, officially switched over to Microsoft Teams. The next bullet is going to contradict that a little bit. But students and parents, just so you know, if you had any issues last week, a link to each synchronous session should be included in your Google Classroom. So you could go to any Google Classroom and find the link to get logged in to your synchronous session for instruction. The very next bullet you read and probably thinks, where's he going with this? So, unfortunately, there were some security issues on the first week of instruction with Google Meets. Those have been resolved. Parents and students, beginning this week, you will start to see some of our teachers utilize Google Meets again. It has been updated with some very nice updates. And here's the cool thing. Our teachers will now have a choice to use Microsoft Teams or Google Meets. They're very similar. They're both very secure. And just want to give you a heads up. Again, I don't think it's going to change the student experience too much. By and large, you're going to access it through a URL link. You'll click on, you'll go live, and you'll spend 30 to 45 minutes with your teachers. I will tell you that with the change of Microsoft Teams, the recording status for classes is a little bit on hold. That is still getting resolved. So if for any reason, students, if you're not in a class, you need to work and connect with your teacher individually to make sure that you're keeping up with what's going on. I also want to give parents and students a heads up. This week, we will begin over the next couple of weeks to conduct state mandated suicide training. Parents, I will tell you that this is a very heavy topic for both schools and families, as we all know, especially with all that's going on in the world right now. It's a scary time to be the parent of a teenager. So this week, we will begin with 9th and 10th grade doing suicide training. What we're doing virtually will be a little lighter than what we do in person. So if you scroll down right below this portion in the eNews newsletter that you can open, you can read a nice letter from our counseling department. They lay out what we're doing, our plans. So this week, and I think I said a minute ago, 9th graders would go first, and I got that wrong. Seniors will actually be going this week, seniors and juniors, and then the following week, sophomores and freshmen. Parents, I encourage you to do this. There's a link right here where you can go and access the actual presentation that will be shared with our students. I encourage you to watch that and possibly even watch it with your child so you get a chance to see what they're being exposed to and what they see and hear. I think it's just great conversation in the home. So I encourage you to read all of that. That's a nice note from our counseling department. Speaking of our counseling department, this was in last week eNews, but I didn't get to expand upon it much. We know that NTI is heavy. We know that there's a lot going on in the world right now around us. If for any reason, even though we're not reporting to our physical building, that you need to reach out to a counselor, there's a quick little video here to show you how to do it. You can do it from the app, but there's always also a link in a form right above. So take advantage of our counseling team. They are veteran, they are very good, and they absolutely take care of students. Going to go back to this one. I shared this the last couple of weeks, but we've had a lot of requests about ordering Bulldog gear, male high school attire, even though our school and bookstore is closed. So we've been able to put together a couple of links to do so through BSN or Chase Marketing. Those links will close in the next week or so. So if you want any Bulldog gear, hop on and get that taken care of. So, guys, I will close with this. I hope you've had a great weekend. We've had a wonderful start to school. It's been so refreshing to see our students and our teachers back doing their thing and spending time together. It's not been perfect. There has been bumps in the road. There will continue to be bumps in the road, but it is so heartening to see our students and staff back to learning and working together and communicating, which is exactly what we need right now in the world. So take care of yourselves, stay well, have a great week, a great rest of the day. I hope, again, you get to spend some time with family and friends and students. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning.